Welcome to Season 3, Episode 14 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm here to talk some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with my co-host, Joe Dalio. So, without any further hesitation, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great. We were talking backstage about 3 weeks in a row. I'm broadcasting from outside. Again, it's a picture-perfect evening here in Western New York, so I couldn't give up this opportunity. We don't get too many of these opportunities. It might be winter next week. Who knows? That's how things go here. So I said, let's take advantage of this. And then you made a comment backstage. Go ahead and share that.
Yeah, I said, where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Right. Maybe giving us a little preview to what's coming in a couple of months here. But yeah, so perfect night here. And again, glad to be on our podcast. Glad to be talking some baseball with you, Jamie. And again, I don't know if you could hear the birds chirping and, the pool filter running, everything just beautiful out here.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So I'm going to start out the show this week with the Yankees injury report. So we're going to begin with left-handed pitcher Max Fried. He is currently still dealing with a left elbow bone bruise. He threw a live bullpen session on July 3rd, as well as a live batting practice at Yankee Stadium on July 5th. The southpaw pitcher threw 36 pitches and, quote, "it felt really good," said manager Aaron Boone. His expected return is possibly July. Next, we have left-handed pitcher Carlos Rodon with elbow inflammation. He indicated that his elbow had been troubling him for a few weeks and that he wanted to go get it checked out. Image showed that there was no injury to his ulnar collateral ligament. So, in other words, no Tommy John surgery, which is a good thing.
Good.
The all-star pitcher is presumed to get a PRP injection and will rest up for at least a week without throwing. So let's now turn it over to Joe for some Mets news. Joe?
All right. Thanks, Jamie. And some I'd say interesting things going on, a lot going on, it seems like. But again, what difference is it going to make is the question that I asked. But I'm going to share the information anyway. A couple of guys that have been out for a while on injury. Some of these some of these veterans that the Mets got. Jorge Polanco missed nearly 3 months due to severe left Achilles bursitis. And he's been activated now from the 60-day IL, and he's expected to step into a primary designated hitter role. So we'll see how long it takes him to get going. Same thing, Luis Robert. Now, he was playing pretty well before he went on the disabled list, and he's been off for a while because of lumbar disc herniation. Now, he's currently playing for the AA Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and he's continuing to rehab and targeting a mid-July return. So we're talking maybe coming back perhaps after the All-Star break. With that. And again, let's see if he can do well. Now, he was doing better than Polanco was, although Polanco, had his moments. Luis Robert did make some contributions. Now, they did option Ronnie Mauricio down. He was struggling here during his time with the Mets. Again, had a couple of moments, but for the most part, struggling, striking out a lot, etc. Other than that, not too much going on. They selected the contract of right-hander Matt Seelinger from Detroit for cash, and they designated a couple of other guys that I haven't heard of for assignment, Carrillo and Zuniga. And that's basically it. Now, Marcus Semien, not coming back anytime soon. He's got a strained hip flexor, going to be gone for at least a month. And now on the positive side here, reliever Daniel Nunez, who had, Tommy John last year, he's doing some assignments also in Binghamton, which is the AA team. So encouraging because, he provided some solid pitching assistance as well. Now, again, talking about some things here, and potential trades. And Jamie, we've talked this every week. We talk about, you know what, just be done with this overpaid veteran type thing, blow it up and be smart about it. Now, they're saying that David Stearns, the general manager's job, is entirely safe, which is not something that I and most Met fans want to hear. They're building towards 2027 rather than executing a total lengthy teardown, is what the article says. Now, who's going? Honestly, it could be just about anybody. All right. Again, trade deadline is August 3rd, so about 4 weeks away. And, you hear guys all the time like Freddie Peralta, but then also guys like Brooks Raley, whose contract is expiring, AJ Minter's contract is expiring, Clay Holmes, people like that. But it's not limited. Weaver, we talked about last week. He's in demand by a lot of teams looking for him. So I don't expect Weaver to stay with the Mets as well. Not everybody is untouchable. Now, I'm hearing more and more, and I thought about this even before I was hearing about it. I was like, no, would they? Some guy named Francisco Lindor, could he possibly be on the block? Now, there was all kinds of rumors that, people admitting that he and Juan Soto were not getting along. Everything's patched up. Everything's good. But, I read an article today, and they're quoting Mike Francesa, who's been on WFAN sports radio in New York for, 3 decades, and over 3 decades, almost 4 decades. And he definitely knows his stuff, and I don't know where he's getting this information, but he's saying that this little riff here and friction is not completely gone. And there's rumors that the Mets are going to be looking pretty hard to try to unload Lindor. I don't know how true that is. It's not official. It's not like the GM is saying that, but he, and he makes sense here as far as, well, why would, 2 guys who are supposed to lead a team to a championship be not getting along? I think Lindor is kind of miffed a little bit because this was his team 2 years ago. Again, he was the golden boy here. And, this was his team. He was basically the captain. He was leading. He was the MVP candidate. And he was the one that was going to lead this team to the promised land. And really, without him providing much input, all of a sudden you got another guy coming in that's getting paid far more than he is, and now kind of taking over his spot. It's funny, I thought about this, and, in the spirit of Toy Story 5, that's the top movie out these days, right? If you've seen Toy Story, you had Woody, who was like the favorite toy, and, the captain of the toys and the leader and that. And then all of a sudden, without him having anything to do with it, Buzz Lightyear comes in. And there was friction there because, Buzz is trying to be the leader, but this was Woody's territory here. And here's how things worked out in the movie, of course. Spoiler alert. They end up learning how to get along and working together. The question is, can that happen with the New York Mets between Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto? That remains to be seen. But I'm thinking, based on this information and based on, again, what I was even thinking beforehand, I wouldn't put it past the Mets to take advantage of an opportunity to send Lindor on his way. And I honestly don't think Lindor would be upset about that. So this goes back to what we talked about way back when this was going on and when this first started. The Yankees did the smart thing. And they, although I think it would have been smarter for Soto to stay there, because Soto was already there for a while, or for the one season there, and didn't seem like there was too much friction between he and Aaron Judge. So, but again, the Yankees, when I say they made a smart decision, it was more of the financial decision and more of an executive decision, going with some of the younger players. So the Mets did not do that. They overspent for him. Didn't think about the chemistry and how that was going to work. And it's come back to bite them. Now, again, Soto is playing like an MVP. If the Mets were anywhere near the pennant race here, I think Soto would be a legitimate MVP candidate. Again, they're not even close, so he's not going to be in the consideration for that, but he's having that type of season, and he just continues to do so. But I think the negative that's been done by this whole thing, as we're seeing at this point, is so far, anyway, outweighing the positive. And again, and I don't even say that against Juan Soto. Again, he's pulling his weight, that's for sure. One of the few guys that are, but it might have done more harm than good, and it might have cost the Mets Francisco Lindor. Again, we got 4 weeks to see what happens, and stay tuned. So that's basically it as far as the news and speculation here with the Mets. I'm going to throw it back over to you for some more Yankees news, Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, Joe. So anyway, the Yankees have some stuff that they got to do. How can they fix their slump at the trade deadline? Right now, it is time to press the panic button in the Bronx. The club woke up on July 1st sitting in second place in the American League East, 2.5 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. While the Yanks are first in the AL wildcard standings, it's little reward for a club and a fan base with aspirations to win the World Series. Or is it really, though, as we've seen in this 12-team playoff era, that
right.
team like this could do it? You never know.
Right. Yeah, I got something to say about that later on, but I'll let you continue.
Yep. Everybody who is not hitting well should be taking the blame, according to Chris Fersher of The Athletic. And he quotes here, the Yankees have only 16 hits in their last 5 games, the lowest number of hits over a 5-game span in franchise history, Kirshner reported Tuesday. Report going up on a Tuesday. Anyway, 2 names missing from that list are right fielder Aaron Judge and designated hitter Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, having those hitters back in the lineup changes the outlook in the Yankees way. But the positive is the Yankees are deep enough and still in a comfortable position to be buyers at the deadline and add around those 2 at the August 3rd deadline. The first name, Brian Cashman should call is Washington Nationals star C.J. Abrams. The 25-year-old shortstop currently has 18 home runs and leads all MLB shortstops with a career best 866 OPS. While Abrams would bring another a big upgrade and another potential name to the Bronx, Cashman would probably have a hard time of possibly having to give up big prospects like, my guy, George Lombard Jr., but they need to win a World Series before an inevitable or a possible lockout in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, what would you think of a lineup consisting of what they have now plus C.J. Abrams and then Judge and Stanton when they return?
Yeah, C.J. Abrams is one of my favorite players. I mean, nobody talks about him that much, because he's playing with Washington, who is quietly sneaking into the wild card picture here, by the way, and they have for the last few weeks. So I would love to have C.J. Abrams on my team. The problem with that, though, as you mentioned, is you're going to have to give up some really good players. But again, if you're looking for that World Series and if you're looking to get there while the window is still wide open here for the Yankees, then maybe you pay what you have to pay, for that. Now, if I could say something too here that I was going to add, I wrote this down, and I like to look at these expected stats here, and again, I know this has been going on, and I keep expecting Tampa to fall. Now, again, the Yankees do have to get their crap together here, and then they have been slumping a little bit, and they do have to figure some things out. But again, I look at this Pythagorean expected stats, and again, where teams are now and where based on certain statistics, they should be. Now, if things were going according to this, the Yankees would be in first place by about 6 games. So according to this, the Yankees should have a record now of 54-36. Okay. And they're saying that Tampa, even though they're ahead of the Yankees, has a good chance to regress to the mean. Their record should be, based on some of those Pythagorean math things over my head, 47-41. So again, when you look at that, that's a 6-game difference there. And really, if I'm a Yankees fan, and again, it's weird to say this the way things are going, I'm not afraid of Tampa. I mean, yes, they're legit and they're for real and they're going to be there right until the end. You know who I'd be afraid of? The Boston Red Sox. Now, they're only 4 games out of the wild card now. Their record right now is 40-48. Their expected Pythagorean record here is over 500 at 45-43. So what this is saying is this team is going to have, or should, based on the analytics, a very good second half. And again, they're only 4 games out the way it is right now. So I would be, if I was a Yankees fan, I would be more concerned about the Red Sox than about the Rays. Now, again, the Rays are there and ahead of the Yankees right now, and I think they are a good team. But I think I think the Yankees are more likely to, again, have a better second half. The Red Sox are more likely to have a better second half. And I think the Rays are more likely to regress in the second half. I might be 1,000% wrong on that, but that's what these analytics that I'm learning say. And so I'm very curious to see, how this is going to work.
Mm-hmm. And how prolific do you think that this lineup with Judge, Stanton, Abrams, and the current lineup that they have now, how prolific do you think it could be for them to win, to at least make the World Series or possibly win it this year?
Very. I mean, I think they have that strong possibility with the lineup that they have right now. And you were just talking about it a few minutes ago, Jamie, that it's a 12-team crapshoot. And just because a team doesn't win a division, we know, and we've seen it already, doesn't mean they can't make the World Series. And the Yankees, I think, would be a better team, a much better team than some of these teams that have made the World Series lately, like the fluke teams I'm talking about. I'm not talking about teams like the Blue Jays who won the division, certainly deserved it, but teams like Arizona, teams like, Texas even, that were kind of questionable there. The Yankees would be far superior to those teams that, even if they don't win this division, I think would certainly have an excellent chance to win the World Series. I think they have a chance to do that now, the way things are. And to get a guy like C.J. Abrams, I think would just increase those chances even more.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. That's one small injury for a player, one giant leap for Martian kind. From his minor league rise to a prominent MLB player, Jason Dominguez, his rise through the MLB has been enjoyable, but it additionally drew more headlines when the Martian started the season in AAA. We have a quote here: "I have had very good moments, very bad moments, but that's what sports are about, and those are the things I can't control," Dominguez said this week about the time he spent in the minor leagues to start 2026. "I do control my part, which is to come and do my job to try to help the team as best as I can and prepare myself as best as I can." Dominguez's time in the minor leagues to start the year didn't necessarily mean he was not going to be part of the Yankees' plans for 2026, as that was evident when he was promoted from AAA 1 month into the season. His promotion was a reward for his perseverance and a positive mindset he showed at the beginning of the season at AAA. And we have another quote from manager Aaron Boone. First of all, I think Jason's handled everything this year really, really well. Yankees manager Aaron Boone said, as a player, as a pro, as a person, he came into spring training where if we're healthy, there was a chance he was going back to AAA. And I think he knew that. He probably saw that writing on the wall a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder how that's going to affect a young player. And all he did was go out. I thought he had an excellent spring, had the same attitude that he normally does, and then goes back down to AAA to start the year, gets out to a good start, and earns the opportunity to come back when a spot opened up. But bad luck struck just 9 games into Dominguez's first Yankee stint when he made a left field catch on May 7th, crashing into the wall, spraining his left shoulder. Dominguez is currently batting .215 with a .636 OPS in 26 games after hitting .257 with a .719 OPS in 123 games last season. Until Judge and other huge names return to the lineup, Dominguez can only go up from here, which would be a breath of fresh New York City air in the Bronx.
Is there such a thing?
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, we have another quote. I feel like he has done more than hold his own, Boone said. But even with Jason, though, he is capable of more than what he is doing now even. He's another guy that guys out. We need to get him going at a level that I think he's capable of, which is a high-level hitter. And hopefully he could be one of those guys that helps sparks us as we go through it a little bit. As for his defense, Dominguez has continued adapting to right field, although he experienced that his change of position in the outfield in previous years now gives him some confidence during this current transition. And we have another quote from Dominguez. Moving from center to left gave me a bit of trouble at first, Dominguez said, but I think that experience in previous years helped me make the transition a little better to right field, and overall so far I felt good. He's blessed to be sharing a clubhouse with 3 former MVPs in Judge, Cody Bellinger, and Paul Goldschmidt, besides the work he put in this offseason. As A$AP Rocky, whatever he would say, you put in work. Put him in the dirt. Anyway, so, Joe, how lucky is Dominguez to be on the New York Yankees sharing a clubhouse with some of the best players in the league this season?
Yeah, extremely lucky. I mean, when you rub shoulders with guys like that, you're going to learn. You have excellent mentors there. You got a winning atmosphere. That's going to all improve his game too. And I love the persistence. He finally gets up with the Yankees and then he gets hurt. What you said, 9 games in. That's got to be frustrating, but never complained, just comes back, does his best. But again, when you got guys like that to play with and to learn from, that's only going to make you, that much better. So I think every baseball player should have that opportunity. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen for everybody.
Mm-mm. And what do you think of Dominguez always having a smile on his face through triumph and terror?
You know what? I think that's going to help him in the long run too, because when you have a positive attitude like he does, yes, obstacles are going to come up, and yes, hurdles have to be cleared, and sometimes things don't go your way. But again, when you're staying positive like that, that's going to help you in the long run, and I think that's going to take him a long way also. And again, those guys that you just mentioned, they have the same types of positive attitudes. So, part of that is him. Part of that is the influence around him. So again, I think that's another thing that's going to take him to the highest level possible.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to move on to how Paul Blackburn is quietly changing the narrative around him right now. Paul Blackburn, coming into the 7th inning against the Twins, showed what the Yankees feel about him as a reliever. The score was 3-2, and they hadn't scored many runs. Blackburn fanned Victor Caratini, Ryan Krieger, and Tristan Gray, and handled them pretty well. retiring the side 1, 2, 3. He got Carantini out with a soft ground ball that came off his bat at 74.1 miles per hour. He struck out Creedler after 5 pitches and made him whiff on a sweeper. Blackburn then made Gray look foolish, getting him to look at a changeup at the bottom of the zone. His check swing went too far across the plate against his curveball, which landed in the dirt. Then that changeup had Gray whiffing at the air with an ugly hack. It could have been Blackbird's most impressive outing with the Yankees this far, but that's nothing really new here. Right. The starter turned reliever who signed for $2 million this offseason has emerged as a real option for manager Aaron Boone late in games. It's obvious the Yankees may have opened up something new with Blackburn, because guess what, Joe? In 2022, when he made the All-Star game, I like this. His average fastball velocity was only at 91.7 miles per hour, but now with the Yankees, it's up to 94.6. I wonder why, right?
Right. Now, why couldn't it have been like that in 2023 or where was it, 2024, when he was with that other New York team?
Oh, yeah, the Mets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, Joe, how awesome is it that the Yankees have kind of unlocked Blackburn as a reliable bullpen option that, like teams like your Mets and other teams gave up on especially when he was a former starter, and now the Yankees have made him a reliable bullpen pitcher.
Yeah, he definitely had his struggles. With the Mets, he was inconsistent. Again, you just mentioned he was an all-star, I think with the A's, if I'm not mistaken. But, I don't blame teams, I guess, for giving up on him a little bit. Nothing against Blackburn. He's good enough that if he found the right spot, he could get his stuff back and help somebody. And it looks like, at least for now, that spot is with the Yankees. And it's good to see, because I always liked Blackburn when he was at the Mets. Like I said, he was a little too inconsistent. And again, I understand why teams passed on him or got rid of him. But it's good to see. And hopefully he can help them, now and down the stretch as well.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, who else but the Yankees pitching staff to increase his average velocity while also keeping his command, right?
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So now let's turn it over, back over to you, Joe, again for some Mets highlights. One more time, we're gonna celebrate, Joe.
Okay, now you said a little paradox here. You said Mets and highlights. In 2026, those two words don't go together. No, but actually there were some highlights that we can't complain about it. They're trying. Now the Mets were 3-3 this week, so nothing to complain about. And that includes a 4-game split with the Atlanta Braves at Atlanta. So the Mets won 2 of those games, and they they fought hard. In fact, last night they were losing 3-2 in the 9th inning. They could have packed it in and not done their best, whatever. But they're professionals. And Juan Soto hits a big 3-run home run in the top of the ninth. So they go up 3-2. Or no, I'm sorry. They were down 3-2. They go up 5-3. But then their reliever, I don't know who it was, I assume Devin Williams, gives up a tying home run to Olsen. So the Braves tie it, and then it goes extra innings, and the Mets pulled it out. So again, got to like the fight. Season's done pretty much for them, but again, play inspired baseball, keep fighting. Now, the negative of this 3-3 record here is that they were outscored 43-29. So giving up a lot of runs. That's 7-5, basically, an average score. That they're giving up more than they're scoring. Now, again, some offensive highlights here, again, to take your word there. Juan Soto continues his excellent hitting. Again, if the Mets were in this race, he'd be an MVP candidate. Another week over 1,000 OPS is 1145 OPS this week. 7 RBIs as well. 2 home runs with that, including, again, that big 3-run homer last night. Other people, how about welcoming back Tyrone? I almost said Tyrod. Tyrone Taylor. He had 1,000 OPS, or a little bit over 1,000 OPS. So did Mark Vientos, but he didn't play as many games. But Taylor came back off the injured list, not known for his hitting or power, but did have 2 solo home runs this week. All right. Vientos had a home run and 2 RBIs as well. Now, here's something that's been positive all year for the Mets. And again, they're going to have to go with players like this. Carson Bench. He continues to hit well also. He had a 985 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs this week. Now, here's something I noticed that's very encouraging. He had 22 plate appearances, struck out twice out of those 22 plate appearances. So for a young guy like this that's hitting the ball as well as he is, to strike out only 2 times in 2026 MLB, I think that's very encouraging. And he's hitting the ball. In fact, I got some stats to prove it here. His expected WOBA, meaning the WOBA stat that takes in extra base hits and things like that. The expected WOBA, what I call it, is 56 points higher than what it actually is. So what that means is he's crushing the ball. He's hitting the ball very hard and very well as he's doing here. Again, a 985 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. His stats should be even better. And again, I think that's a testament that's shown with the fact that he only struck out those 2 times this week. So that's telling me that he's only going to get better. All right. And his age tells me that too, the fact that he's going to continue to grow. And, I think he's growing at a faster pace than we thought he would, especially after the first month of the season. We were a little concerned. Now, other positive stats anyway, as far as the Mets hitting, they had 8 players, another one of those standard stats that takes a whole bunch of factors into consideration, is that WRC plus. And the baseline, the standard, the average is 100. And the Mets actually had 8 players this week that were over 100, so above average hitting. Now, another one that's getting some hard luck here, AJ Ewing, again, another part of that youth movement here. Now, he only batted 118 this week. However, he had a 15% barrel percentage, which, again, hitting the ball on the sweet spot, that's pretty good. Anything usually 20 or more is exceptional. So he was pretty close to that. 54% hard hit percentage of balls this week. So that's telling me that he deserves significantly higher than a 118 batting average. That tells me that that's not too concerning. If he's only hitting 118 this week, he's hitting the ball well. He's just going to have to, regress to the mean and things will work out. And other guys in the lineup, like we've been talking about, could potentially be moving out pretty soon. But Bo Bichette continuing to hit the ball well too. Now, pitching, really nothing much to talk about. And again, you're giving up 7 runs a game. Nolan McLean had a positive start, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, couple earned runs, 5 strikeouts. So not amazing, but certainly encouraging, certainly a quality start in my opinion. Now, some of the quality relievers are struggling. And don't we say this in July every year, it seems like? As long as we've been doing this podcast, Jamie, this is our 3rd year doing this baseball podcast. It's been the same story. All 3 years, the Mets bullpen, the first 2 months of the season, 2.5 months, almost, the first half of the season, they're like one of the best bullpens in baseball. And then after that, they're just falling apart, even some of their better guys. And, I don't know if it's because of overuse. I don't know. I really don't know the reason for that. I'll have to dig into some stats and maybe try to find out. But they're doing it again, and I mean the starters aren't pitching well either. But because even some of their better ones, Christian Scott, people like that, they struggled this week. Freddie Peralta is doing nothing except just waiting for his ticket out of town. So, the pitching is a struggle, but we'll take the positive as far as the hitting is concerned. Now, as far as the upcoming week here, the Mets are 38-53. 15 games out of first place. That's not going to happen. But 11 games out of the wild card. Do you know how many teams are double-digit games out of the wild card? 3. Mets are one of 3 teams that are double-digit wild card back. And there's others. I think the Angels are 9.5. I think the Royals are 8.5. So really, in all of baseball, there's 5 teams. This is the great thing about the wild card system that they have now. 5 teams out of all the teams in baseball, you could say, are out of it at this point. All the rest of the teams at least have some kind of a chance to get on a hot streak and get in the wild card hunt, or even some of them are not even too far out of their division. But the Mets are one of those 3 teams, those Mets that are the second highest payroll in baseball, and when you get rid of the deferred stuff and all that, they're the highest this year. So what does the highest payroll in baseball get you? 11 games out of the wild card at the almost all-star break. So congratulations, guys. You should be proud of yourselves. Now, 6 games coming up the rest of the week here. They are playing the Royals at home and the Red Sox at home. Now, again, the Royals are one of those teams that are out of it. But again, the Red Sox, I told you, if I'm a Yankees fan, I fear them more than I feel the Rays, believe it or not. So the Red Sox certainly have stuff to play for, and they're going to try to get something going here. And again, playing with only 4 games behind out of the wild card, they are right in the thick of things in the American League race, and I think they're going to be there at the very end as far as being in the race. I know Red Sox fans are ticked off at them, and they don't think so. I don't know. To me, the stats say that that they're going to be there. So, again, these are going to be tough games. 6 games going into the All-Star break, and we'll see what happens. Again, there's 4 weeks before the trade deadline. So I don't care if the Mets trade every single guy on the roster. Well, I shouldn't say that because some of the young guys I don't want to see go. But they're even talking about one name that's come up is even Francisco Alvarez. Now, and even, the backup catcher, too. So those I disagree with. I don't think because Alvarez is one of the few guys that's been hitting the ball hard all year. His stats weren't that good this week. But really, he's somebody that you don't want to go. Who else is going to catch for this team? All right. I mean, Torrens has done a great job when the inevitable situations that Alvarez gets hurt, and maybe that's what have the Mets frustrated, the fact that Alvarez is always hurt. But I think it would be a big mistake to get rid of somebody like that because he's one of the few guys on this team that's been consistently hitting the ball well all season. And I think it's too early, to give up on him. I don't know what his contract situation is. Maybe there's something involved with that. I don't know. But I don't do that. But I'm hearing his name come up. I'm hearing, again, everybody, Bichette and Lindor and some of those big names. Again, and there's the obvious ones like Vientos and Beatty and all those that people say are going. Of course, Freddie Peralta, who we know is going out. I'm not so sure Bo Bichette goes at the trade deadline, but he's definitely not coming back next year. I certainly don't think so. So, again, a lot of speculation, and that's really what we're going to be talking about a lot here in the next few weeks. And certainly I'll share anything on this show if I get any news or see anything that indicates maybe particular directions that they plan on going. So just now at this point, get some of these guys experience, get them in the lineup, and and just make the right decisions. And again, the fact that he says that David Stearns' job is safe, I don't feel good about that. Although he did say the same thing about Carlos Mendoza, and that eventually got too far out of hand. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I don't think Stearns is going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere in New York City, because if anybody saw him in the streets, I don't know if it would be safe for Stearns, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's where we are in Mets land here. So we'll see. So I'm going to send it back to you.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Schlittler, Rice, Judge, and Belly make the 2026 All-Star game. Once again, the Yankees will be well represented at the 2026 Major League Baseball All-Star game presented by MasterCard, which will be played July 14th at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. The league named Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Cam Schlittler, and Ben Rice as All-Stars on Saturday for the AL. The fans voted Judge on AL starting in the outfield, but will not play due to a stress fracture of his right rib. And I think Goldschmidt should go in place of Judge.
What? Why not?
He seems to get better as he gets older. Goldschmidt. Mm-hmm. He's struggling right now, but just the overall picture,
right?
What he's been able to do. So anyway, the players elected Schlittler and Bellinger, but Major League Baseball selected Rice. 2026 will be Bellinger's first All-Star appearance since 2019 when he was with the Dodgers. This year's All-Star celebration is monumental as Belly's family will be there in attendance supporting him. And we have a quote from him. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming. It's the first one with the family, so I'm very excited to be there. Bellinger said, last time I didn't have any kids, family, or anything. I'm excited to have them on the field. That's what it is all about. Schlittler has yet to play a whole calendar year in the MLB, but nonetheless, he's one of the AL's best pitchers, leading the league with a 3.7 WAR, 2.08 ERA, and a 203 ERA plus. He doesn't mind starting the All-Star game, but he also doesn't care if the Yankees say no either. Like, he's accepting that. Like, if they don't want to start him in case of injury, that they need him. So, and we have a quote, we'll see. The team comes first. They are a priority, Schlittler said. If it lines up, it lines up. If it doesn't, that's fine as well. And that's a good attitude to have, I think.
I agree.
Especially for a young pitcher playing for one of baseball's most storied franchises.
Yeah.
With Judge not available, Rice has been a power source for the Bronx Bombers, leading the team in home runs with 25, counting tonight, and 57 RBIs. It seems like yesterday, as recently as 2025, when Rice was struggling to stay on the team. Now he's the Yankees' staple at first base, and he's going to be in the home run derby. But of course, Joe, because of the new media rights deal, it's not going to be on cable. It's going to be on who else but Netflix,
right?
The sports.
Well, luckily,
Netflix, the mighty sports show, right? Sports Network, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The classic sports network. Luckily we have Netflix, but again, I hate that they're on 1,000 different streaming services, because had I not seen that a couple of days ago, I didn't realize until a couple of days ago that the Derby was going to be on Netflix. So had I not seen that, I would have gone crazy looking for it. So by the way, what a great place to have the home run derby in Philadelphia. That's almost just like Yankee Stadium, where all you got to do is pop the ball up and it's a home run. So if it's a nice warm day in Philadelphia, we're going to have an exciting home run derby.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And we have a quote I'm really excited about. I can't wait to enjoy the weekend, Rice said. I didn't necessarily come to the season saying I really want to be on an all-star team. If you do your best every day and stick to your process and the results follow, maybe you get the chance. Joe, What would this world be like if the Yankees had no selections in the MLB? Because, I mean, they only had 4 this year. Can you believe that? Stop the press is only 4 for the Yankees.
If the Yankees had nobody on the All-Star game, I would take cover because I would think the apocalypse is coming. That it's even when they're bad, that there's a bunch of Yankees on that team, on the All-Star team. So the fact that they're good, and again, it kind of surprises me a little bit that there's only 4, but it just kind of shows you how they play like a team. That there's maybe not as many superstars that at least in the lineup anyway, but they gel together as a team and they do the right things that are not necessarily going to get recognized as, all-star caliber per se, but still, they do things right, get hits at the right time. That doesn't always show up on the stat sheets, but yeah, definitely the Yankees are always going to have a lot of guys in the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, like I said, they're top-notch starting pitching and bullpen. Their pitching's what's really carried them too. Even though
for sure,
Slittler might be the only All-Star to be named to the game, their whole starting 5 is good at pitching.
Yeah, and if some of those guys weren't hurt, and they didn't start this, like Cole didn't start the season until May, June, whatever. So some of these guys are all-star caliber pitchers. They've just been on the shelf for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And how excited must Bellinger be finally to return to the All-Star game, but this time have his family for the first time watching him live, because he said he didn't have kids before, but he still obviously got Clay, his dad, and his mom, and now he's got kids and other members of his family that are going to actually go see him play.
Yeah, he deserves it. I mean, he's having a great season, and I'm happy for him. He definitely deserves to be there, and I'm glad that he can have a lot of people supporting him there.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Yankees make a guardian angel option. That's a Curtis Sliwa reference there, Joe. Guardian angel, right?
It flew over my head.
Yeah. Option by calling up Flamethrower to boost the bullpen. An emergency starter was needed for the Yankees last Saturday on the 4th of July as Carlos Rodon returned to the IL. Brandon Beck struggled pitching 3 2/3 innings, an 11-4 loss to the Twins. And last Sunday morning, it's easy like Sunday morning. Anyway, Beck was optioned back to AAA. That didn't take too long. Scranton Wilkes-Barre. And Angel Chiavelli, or Angel Chiavelli, and as Shaggy would say, girl, you're my angel. You're my darling angel. He has been recalled in a corresponding swap as the Yankees search for some extra bullpen help. Chiavelli made his MLB debut with the Rockies at just 21 years old in 2024, pitched briefly with the Yankees this year before he was put on the 15-day IL on April 25th with right shoulder discomfort. But he returned in June 11th, and since then with Scranton, he's pitched a 1.08 ERA.
Wow.
With 12 appearances with the Rail Riders this season. So obviously, like I said, he was a flamethrower before, and even though he got hurt, obviously it looks like he's built his arm back up to that type of ERA in AAA, and it looks like it was good enough to earn him a call-up. As like I said, he's not Carlos Lagrange, who unfortunately Lagrange went out with a hurt shoulder. As Joe, you're not going to believe this. Dylan Betances was saying he got one of his pitches up to 105 in the bullpen.
Oh my goodness!
Because he was throwing 103, and then they said he went to go throw a pitch that was actually harder than 105.
Oh God!
So I think he threw like 107 or 108, and his shoulder like snapped. So he threw it.
It
harder.
Blew out.
Yeah. So think about it. Think about it. That's this guy wasn't even in the MLB, and he was already throwing harder than Mason Miller, because Mason Miller can throw 105 with the Athletics. So I mean, this kid's got Mason Miller like stuff, but he got hurt. But Angel Chavelli's good too. He can throw triple digits, just not as hard as Legrande. But and now Legrande can't throw for 6 weeks because of his shoulder, and he was supposed to come up to the Yankees. But you know what? That may be a good thing too, because at least he may have time to be able to rest his shoulder. And I know he's going to have to build his arm back up, but if he can at least build it back up to over 100, where it's 102 or 103, he can still finally make his MLB debut, when he wants to. But he was throwing 105 plus in the minor leagues. Legrand was.
That's okay. I still think he'll get by. Maybe just get by with 102, 103.
Yep. Well, like I said, I know DeValley can get by just doing 99 or 100 or 101. But
right.
So anyway, it's unlikely too many will remember this minor transaction from this offseason. But Chavelli was traded last winter for first baseman. You may remember this name, TJ Rumfield. He was a prospect with the Yankees. And the funny thing is when they were he was playing first base with Ben Rice, and the funny thing is Rumfield actually had better numbers in 2024 than Ben Rice did, but they decided to call up Rice over Rumfield, even though Rumfield had a better batting average in AAA.
Now, is Rumfield is he on another team now?
Yeah, we traded him to Colorado.
That's by the way,
thought. He's breaking out and having a good rookie season with Colorado.
Right. I've taken him on DFS a couple of times because he's cheap and he's a good hitter.
Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, he was never going to be able to. There was just never going to be room for him to make the Yankees roster. That's why they traded him.
Right.
Anyway, believe it or not, Yankees relievers have pitched to a 3.15 ERA this season, which ranks second in the MLB behind the Braves. In terms of WAR, the core grades out 7th in the league.
Wow.
Some relievers have struggled, including Camille Doval with a 4.81 ERA this season, and he allowed 4 runs in the 8th inning on Saturday. So, Joe, what do you think of the Yankees recalling Angel Chavelli to try to boost the velocity to their bullpen? And obviously, I think they could get away with his velocity, even though they really wanted Carlos Legrande. But I think reality set in with Legrande. Maybe he was throwing a little too hard,
Yeah, sometimes you learn that lesson the hard way. But like I said, the Yankees have so much depth already. So a guy like this can certainly step in and help them. And I feel like because of all the depth that they have, there's not a lot of pressure on them. It's not like, again, they're throwing this guy up there before he's supposed to come up. Because sometimes if teams are desperate, they'll do that and they'll rush somebody, and then there's that extra pressure. Whereas now he's getting the opportunity. So there's really no pressure on him, I don't think. Just show what you got, take advantage of the opportunity, and see if you can end up staying, in this, pitching in this bullpen.
Mm-hmm. And how impressive was it to see him, build his velocity, but also his command back up to a 1.08 ERA in AAA after being on the IL back in April with shoulder trouble. So he was out for almost a month and a half, and he still was able to build his arm back to pre-injury in AAA.
Yeah, and that's very impressive. And, again, those are great numbers too. So, he definitely, seems promising. And again, just continue to prove yourself and improve your game. And again, just the goal is to stay with the team.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of more prospects, Joe, we're going to move on to what Michael Kay always says. Let's take a look at Down on the Farm.
Sounds good.
We don't have any news for AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre as their game was postponed to a rain delay. But anyway, what better way to talk about the 4th of July than the AA Somerset Patriots? Anyway, they lost 6-1 versus a team called the Harvard Yard Goats.
The yard goats.
So, yeah, well, you have the Binghamton Rumble ponies, but
We
I
got
don't
the
know.
Rumble ponies. Yeah. Which
But I think
I
the
don't know. I
yard
don't like.
goats might top that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, the starting pitcher was none other than Ben Hess. The Hess truck's back and is better than ever. Now stay tuned, it's here. Ben Hess truck's here. He pitched 4 innings, which that's good in the which is good in the minor leagues. And it's also good for him because remember I told you he's been trying to build his arm back up from when he was hurt. And he's got his velocity back up to 96, 97, which is good. But he's been inconsistent with his command as he pitched 4 innings with 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikes, and 2 home runs. So things remain a little stop and start for the first rounder, but I think that's going to be expected when he's still trying. I think they're kind of focusing more about building his arm and going deep into games than worrying about his command. But at least he's still showing his arm can hold for 4 or 5 innings after they built him up. That's at least a good sign.
Definitely.
So, yep. Next, we're going to go to the high Hudson Valley. Da na 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 Renegades, Pittsburgh. They won 5 before versus the Wilmington Blue Rockets. We're going to talk about second baseman, and you know this guy, Joe. Jeff Kent's son, none other than the improbable, the one and only Caden Kent. He was 2 for 3 with 2 walks and RBI. No, sorry, 2 for 3 with a double, an RBI, a walk, and was caught stealing. So just a normal day at the office for him,
Yeah, just another normal day.
Continuing to impress after being drafted in the 3rd round last year. So, anyway, we also have starting pitcher Franier Herrera. I told you, Joe, he went 7 innings last time. This time back to normal, back to 2026 baseball, 4 innings. With allowing 6 hits, a base runner, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, though, in 4 innings. That's impressive. And 1 home run. So, anyway. 4 innings, we got to get there, but the 5 strikeouts in 4 innings is good.
Right.
So, Joe, what do you think of Ben Hess being inconsistent, but with his command at least, hit or miss, but he's still pitching 4 or 5 innings again with his arm feeling better. And like I said, he's got his strikeout stuff and his velocity. Last time we talked, it was back up to 96, 97, where his fastball was.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, what level did you say this was?
Ben Hess was AA.
AA. But still, I mean, even at that level, they're still learning. So I think that's the goal, is just to help these guys learn. I think it's much easier. I mean, if you have the velocity, you're always going to have that. I think the command is the harder thing to learn and the hardest thing to master. So if he's doing well already at AA here with his command, I think that's a good sign, because the velocity will happen and that's going to grow, and he'll continue to grow with that. But the fact that his command is where it is at this point, I think is very promising. So even though, again, if he's struggling a little bit, that's at this time at his career, you're still learning. And so I think he's capable enough to learn to potentially get to the higher levels here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And how about Caden Kent and this minor league or high A pitcher Franier Herrera making great impressions down in high A? We know what you feel about Caden Kent, but did you think he'd be making this much of a first impression in high A after just being drafted last year? And this is really only his first season turning pro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about him, but again, being a Kent, as in, son of Jeff Kent, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. And again, you've piqued my interest here by bringing him up every week here. That I'm definitely keeping an eye on him and looking forward to watching him progress. But I guess, to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. And he seems to already be taking that leadership role with that team. And that's only going to take him further as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media driven world on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, the first Tuesday of July?
Yeah, and the second half of July, if you can believe that. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you call it, Joe Dell Sports there. This show, some other shows on the network here. So, like I said, posting some stuff about the Mets and World Cup and all kinds of things going on. So that's where you can find me there.
Yep. And then you can find me, yours truly, at Bill's Chat 1, at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Moy, the Unbiased Journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, thebuffalodown.com, and fortball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell for all notifications. For more content on Driving to the Top Productions, you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you get your podcast. For Joe Dallio, this is Jamie Malloy, and we will see you next Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for the Subway Conversation Chat, only on Driving to the Top Productions. Good night, everybody.
Have a great week.